All right, everybody, and welcome on to Glittering Ashes. It's World Team League, the regular season. It is week 9, week 10. We're getting close to the end. We are getting close. We're into the crunch zone of the World Team League. Hello, I'm TitanOnFire. There's gonna be a bit more laid back than our usual cast because, of course, the World Team League is it's pretty exciting, but it is just going to be this set of two between Clem and Dark, so it's going to be definitely a very, very interesting one. Again, a refresher for anyone who's new to the World Team League setup, how it goes. You are going to have each team fielding 3 players. It is a Pro League format, or not a Pro League format, but is it Pro League? Well, it's a format where you have pretty much each player choose a map that they want to be on, or not even a map, but they just choose what order they want to go on. They then get their map. They then go into their series, and they play only 2 games, so they're going to play a set of 2. No matter what the score is, you then move on to the next set, so on and so forth. DPG already off to a good start. So this is the 3rd set. Clem needs to get a 2-0 in order to tie it up, because, of course, you did have Zest and Rogue. Both of them take a 1-1 and a 2-0, respectively. And, of course, not surprising there, Rogue currently in amazing form. In just absolutely stellar form. As of the recording of this, the GSL finals just happened last night, which were an absolute banger, or the GSL Super Tournament finals, which I'm not gonna give any spoilers, but go watch it. It was definitely a bit of a mix-up on something that we've been seeing a lot of in terms of the semifinals and finals of that Super Tournament, but it didn't quite go the way that I think a lot of people expected, but that's just to be expected, or that's just kind of how it should be with the caliber of players and with just the level that both of those finalists were playing at. It was absolutely insane. Dark now has been actually playing quite a lot of tournaments recently. He had, I believe, just earlier this week, went on a tear, or last week, went on a tear in the ESL Open Cups. Dark competed in the Korean, the North American, and I don't think he did the EU Cup, but won both Korea and NA. And he only dropped, I believe, 2 maps. He won, or no, he only dropped 1 map, because he won the entire Korean EPT Cup, swept the entire thing, didn't drop a single map, and then only lost 1 map, and actually faced Clem in the finals of that. So they've already played a best of 5 quite recently, for reference, in that ESL Open Cup on similar server situations as you would have here, where you're playing, of course, on NA servers, because they give both players equal ping, just about, depending on whether you're playing on Central or West. And Dark 3-0'd that. So obviously Dark, his TVZ right now is in pretty dang good form, even though Clem did get the 2-1 over him in the King of Battles group stages. Still, I would have to say Dark's TVZ is, right now, at least, in really, really impeccable form. I mean, I'd put Dark right below Zerg, or right below Zerg, right below Rogue in terms of Korean Zergs, just in their level of TVZ. I would say Dark, of course, Rogue right now is the best. Rogue, I mean, making it to, I think, 2 grand finals of major events, and I would say Dark is right up behind him. Just, consistently, I think, is the second best Zerg to Rogue. But still, it means that he's absolutely incredible. Now, however, Clem has been having a bit of growing pains lately. As we've just been seeing a bit of skirmishing around. You're going to be seeing just the standard fast 3CC into Cloak Banshee, while you have the Hellion and Reaper Pressure. But Clem has had a bit of growing pains recently, because Clem's TVT has not been looking that good. And, of course, Clem's TVZ is always, really, really, really good in comparison to his other matchups. But you have been starting to see Clem kind of feel the struggle, like, of not having all of his matchups on the same level as a player like Maru, who I think is kind of the gold standard right now for just all-around good Terran play. Just all around, all of his matchups being almost, impeccable. And for Clem, it wasn't really that. He had his TVZ, which was absolutely amazing. I would say it was a little bit worse than Maru's, with just Maru's form. But his other matchups were definitely far behind even some other European Terrans, especially his TVT. And so he's been having a bit of growing pains with those matchups, and he's been trying to kind of get better at them. And so we'll see if that reflects here in this matchup. I don't think it will. His TVZ, of course, is still great. But Clem definitely has started to hit that kind of phase where he has to kind of take that next step to get better, you know, to reach the level of the other best Terrans in the world, which is currently, you know, Cure, Maru. Those are the two best Terrans, I think, in the world, undoubtedly or undisputedly. So we'll have to see. Right now, the opening's looking pretty standard for both these players. Again, Dark had just gone into Ling Bane. Dark had a period where he was trying to still go Roaches because Dark just likes his Roaches. It wasn't really working out. Every time he went Roaches, he would kind of get stomped. And so he's just started going Ling Bane a lot more consistently now, and it looks better. Dark's Ling Bane actually looks really, really good. And so I'm glad to see him opening up this set with just, you know, his 1/1 upgrades, the Baneling Nest on the way alongside the layer, and the 2 additional gas to help out with that Baneling production. It's going to be nothing crazy. He's just going with straight Ling Bling. And on the side of Clem, of course, got that early 3rd CC, so his macro's actually in a decent spot at this current moment. Sitting 55 workers to 63 is really decent for the Terran, especially, ooh, if you can pick off a Queen. These Banshees haven't gotten too much damage. They've taken a lot of damage. Their hull is quite battered and bruised, and one might go down here. Oh, the second does manage to get on out. But they kill 1 Queen and a drone, and that is going to be about it. Not really the most value they'd like from Cloak Banshees. Dark just doing a great job of defending with his Queens, having Spore Crawlers up even between the bases. Just very, very well done to make sure that he's defended properly, and Dark actually already has a 4th base up. That's 3 hatcheries going down. What? Dark is taking 2 macro hatcheries and a 5th. Because he just says, listen, I completely defended the early Hellion pressure. The Cloaked Banshees. And Dark's just saying, I'm in a great spot right now. Like, the Terran has been able to do nothing, so he's getting his 2/2 upgrades, sitting at 70 workers, which is a bit low. You'd probably like to see him go up to 80, maybe up to 90, depending on how much pressure Clem is going to exert. But right now, Dark is in a great spot. And taking 3 hatcheries, there's not much that Clem can do to punish it until the 1/1 upgrades come through, which will be happening in just a few seconds, but it's lined up, of course, very, very nicely with that centrifugal hooks. And Dark already having his own 1/1 finished as that Banshee does manage to dive in, get 3 drone kills, so at least a little bit of value before it dies. Still, you would like just a little bit more, as Clem is going to be getting on into the Speed Burrow drilling claws for these Widow Mines. I assume producing 3 at a time. I do not see the second factory, though. Yeah, for now, it just seems like it's the single factory and the 5 barracks. Oh, he's gone up to 8 racks. Okay. Makes sense, makes sense. Clement has a slightly higher racks count and then there's the second factory. Okay, it did finish up. I was gonna say, Clem, most Terrans actually should be adding on that second factory right around the 5 racks count. Clem, of course, not gonna miss that beat, as there's no real reason for him to. And still just poking around with these groups of Marines. Dark has finally hit that 83 worker count, and that seems like where he's going to sit pretty comfortably for, ooh, that Widowmine shot. Ooh, this one also gets some great value. Dark just not splitting. Well, that's why, because he was paying attention to the other side of the map, manages to clean up a drop on the right side, still chasing down this double drop on the left to make sure that it's not going to be able to reposition. And Dark still has only taken about 4 drones. He's lost 4 drones. That's the worker damage that Clem has gone done. And right now, Dark is sitting on 7 hatcheries. 5 bases, 7 hatcheries. Yeah, you're going to start to see that production. As again, it's straight Ling Bane. It's going to be a 2/2 timing attack here for Dark. Banelings being produced. Is there enough to defend for Clem? Well, Clem does have a really large army. If Dark does commit to trying to hit an attack with his 2/2 upgrades, Clem right now, I mean, did get, I think that's only a single tank that or 2 tanks that he's gotten for defense, but the rest of it is just Widow Mines right now, and there's plenty as these Banelings going to roll on through the connections already. Starting off pretty decently, and here comes the Ling Bane. It is a swarm of units, and you don't have enough Widow Mines to deal with this, do you, Clem? The answer, I think, so far is no, but the supplies honestly not dropping that far until that exposed mineral line is going to get crashed onto already 12 SCVs going down. Now the natural under fire. And there goes Clem's supply as the army gets cleaned up, and it is the 2/2 Ling Bane attack. We've all felt this on the ladder. This happens. You think you're in a great spot, and then they just roll across with so many Banelings. You don't have the SimCity set up, and that's really the danger of Glittering Ashes. is that the map is so open around these bases. It's so hard to set up the Sim City that you need to deal with Ling Bane, especially if it's going for a timing attack like this. You just saw how easy it was for Dark to roll in his units and to just get on top of the army. There's not really much that Clem could do to set up choke points with buildings without having most of his production out between the 3rd and the 4th. And it just means that right now Dark, taking a 70 supply lead, still just completely on Ling Bane, is getting Hydralisk upgrades, but honestly they might not even be needed, as already the Spore Crawler is going to be moved preemptively. This Planetary Fortress is going to go down, and with the loss of the base as well, that might just be a game. Those are very loud death screams. I always forget how loud the WTL has their their voices, as in comparison to the music, which is honestly quite well balanced right now. But 15 more SCVs going down. Clem almost dropping sub 100 supply, and yeah, Glittering Ashes, man, it is a hard map to get these wins on, and we've seen Terran struggle on it. I mean, the only Terran I've really seen actually win games on this map has been Maru. It's this map, and especially Pride of Altaris, are just so hard for Terran to get across the map and apply enough pressure, especially to stop the Zerg from snowballing. And that's what we saw, is that, you know, even pushing the creep, Clem wasn't really able to ever threaten any actual damage. GG's going to be called. Dark will take game number 1. I'll have to save my map rant for later. All right. Out of Curious Minds. Curious Minds. There we go. Let's not slur my words. As we do have Clem and Dark spawning in the bottom right and top left, respectively. And on to another map that is actually quite open. I wouldn't say it's, you know, it doesn't have the same, it's not the same deal as Glittering Ashes, where the map is just massive in and among itself. Of course, Curious Minds, only 6 bases per half of the map, so it's not that large. It does have these annoying sleeper bots. I hate them. They're not cute enough to deserve the life they have been given on this map, and that is my final verdict. Also, sometimes I mistake them for Zerglings. They move just fast enough that playing on this map, sometimes I will see one out of the corner of my eye and be like, oh, there's something in my base. And I'm like, no, actually, it's just a sweeper bot, and I freak out for no reason. And that's not healthy for my heart, man. It's not healthy. It's not good. I need to chill when I'm playing StarCraft 2, because that's definitely what you do when you play ladder in StarCraft 2, is you chill. Enjoy the vibes. But Curious Minds it is, and again, another open map. Not large, open. It is big. And so, it is a map that I think tends to usually actually end up going, 15 minutes or so. It's a map that definitely it's easy to take 3 bases on. But once you get to 4 bases or so, that's when you start to have a bit of the back and forth, and the map gets a bit more contested. So games tend to go a decent length on this map. It's not often that you'll actually see, or that I've seen, especially in TVZ, like a sub 10-minute game on Curious Minds. But there is the possibility for it, because as you look at that 3rd position that's kind of directly up and down from the main, or directly diagonal of the mains of both players, it's wide open, and that means there's a lot of opportunities, of course, for splitting if you're the Terran, as well as for getting surrounds and using those angles as the Zerg. As Clem here, gonna start off with a nice little Zergling kill, and that always bodes well. The Reaper does get quite low. I believe that was 6 lings produced by Dark, yeah. Again, a bit of departure. For the longest time, the actual standard was 4. I'm not sure why it went up. I think it's just because the micro potential of the Reaper and Terrans have gone good enough that they can put a lot of micro into those Reapers. So if you only produce 4, it's actually a little bit harder to hold, and you'll end up losing a few more lings. Whereas if you have 6, there's a lot more HP to go around, and so you can kind of pull lings back, and you're much less likely to lose them and just lose those minerals straight up at the start of the game. As it looks like we're going to have a completely standard start. I mean, Clem is going for the same opener. This time it is going to be the second gas before the third CC. Just means slightly faster cloak for him as, ooh, almost snipes the creep tumor. Oh. You know, even Maru does it, so I can't really, like, call out Clem for doing a Hellbat timing attack, as we do have the armory on the way. Continued Hellion production is going to be Hellbats attacking this third base. We'll see how much damage ends up getting done, but, well, Dark is moving in the Overlord. Should be able to see the general production. I don't think he'll see the armory. Yeah, we'll just pull back, but might have a clue as to what this can be. When you see just a medevac producing by itself, it means a few things. It will mean either, oh, this guy's going for 4 Hellions into my main, or 3 to 4 Hellions into my main, or maybe Widowmine drop is a much less common one, but we've seen actually Maru experiment a bit with Widowmine drops. Those are usually off 2 factors though. Or Hellbats, as here we go, Hellbats coming on down. Now Dark actually doesn't have that many units prepared. The Lings are only just now in production en masse, and the Queens are actually really split up, which could be very, very bad, but the Hellbats, their waddle, a little duck waddle, they're not very fast, and it's really hard to actually catch up to these Queens when they're running away. Clem will find his way on into the natural. First Queen might go down. Lings are now out. Hellbats are gonna have to be careful as Death Screams go off. The Marines have gotten cleaned up. Oh, the Lings found their way into the natural. That is rough. I mean, Clem hasn't been able to find any worker damage. Like, these Hellbats are just walking around. They're trying to get, I mean, Queen kills, but again, they're just so slow. May finally get one more, but the transfusion comes on out. Hellbats are very low, and that is all she wrote. No worker kills, just some Lings and a single Queen. As actually, finally, 3 drones do go down. I don't think that was 2. Where are these drones dying? I wish we could get a shot of it, because I really can't tell, but 4 drones do end up going down. That was not to that Liberator, but Clem went for the Hellbat attack. It did, I mean, not to be rude, but absolute, almost jack all. Luckily, 34 Lings were cleaned up, so it was a bit of investment from Dark to try and defend it. But even then, Dark only losing 4 drones, and that was after the fact, while you've committed the armory tech, while you've committed the Hellions. It's a bit rough. It's a bit rough. And the 1-1 timing for both these players is going to be kind of synced up, as it looks like Dark is planning to go, just again, into the straight-up Ling Bane. The swarm tactics. Just build more units than the Terran can deal with. You can't micro. If there is no room on the map to micro, there's just going to be that many Zerglings. And that's the plan for Dark. As the third base will finally be established for Clem, is going to be poking out with a few more Hellions. The Liberator has gone back in, trying to see if there's any chances for damage, but the Queen positioning from Dark is just really on top of it. Dark, this early game, so solid, and that's one of the things where I feel like Dark has always been the strongest, is especially in his ability to be aggressive in the early game and to counteract aggression. And sometimes it does bite him, where Dark will actually end up like not producing enough workers early on, and it will allow the opponent to really actually catch up to him and get a decent lead. And so then he has to play from behind, but then Dark's just good enough to win from behind, so it doesn't really matter. So it looks like we're going to be having a bit of a Avengers Assemble moment here of all of the units that Clem has failed to really do too much with here in the early game, as it's the Liberator, it's the Hellbats, and now Stim Marines being added on in. Banelings rolling on through, but a great split on the Hellbats. It actually has a bit of a chance to get some damage done. The Banelings getting folks fired. Now the Marines have to split on up, and they take very, very little damage. The Liberator goes down, it's just Stim Marines left. There's enough transfuse energy. The Clem has to back on out, even with 1-1 finishing up. And just relegate these units to creep cleaning unit. Or creep cleaning squadron. It is their job to mop the decks, to swab at all corners of the map to make sure that there's no dirty, dirty creep on it. Because at this point, not really much you can do with just this many Marines. Hydroless production has started though for Dark, so did not notice, but has added on the 5th gas as well. So he's going to be getting actually even earlier into those Hydralisks than the last game. That means that we should be seeing +1 range attacks also starting up alongside the +2 melees. Once again, the Marines trying to hop their way on into the main, but will easily get skewed away. So Widow Mine drop comes through. No speed burrow does mean that it's a bit slow. Only 2 drones will go down, and they'll eventually be cleaned on up. Yeah, just looking for that +1 range to start from Dark. That is kind of an important upgrade if you're going for Hydralisks. I mean, even +2 Carapace would actually be nice just to get a second upgrade going for the Zerg piece of Terran. We'll be approaching 2-2 at around the time that +1 melee finishes up. And there we go, Carapace upgrade started. Just a little bit delayed in comparison to Clem's +2 infantry upgrades, which will be Sanctiprines. Oh my, those Widowmine shots. See Dark not happy with that connection, and that Widowmine shot did kind of fly. It went miles. That was a heat-seeking missile across the globe. As Clem just waiting for these upgrades to finish, looking for the sync before he really tries to push this any further. Wants to snipe the hatchery, and could have tried to dive in there, but doesn't want to. The Widowmine shots once again, so many kills. And the other 2 get cleaned up, but now Clem can look to go into the main. It's a bit dangerous. I mean, Dark is already repositioning, but you have another army moving here down to the bottom side of the map. Yeah, Clem can't really commit to trying to push that drop into the main. Is just applying pressure at the same time taking his 4th. There we go. Good drag onto the second Widowmine shot. But 2-2 will be finishing up for the bio. And this is kind of the next big timing here for Clem, is hitting this critical mass of Marine tank, which is a bit strange. Marine tank, of course, is what you'll usually be going if you're preparing for that lurker transition, which it does seem like, Dark has the kind of the inclination to go towards, but Dark has actually cut out the Hydralisks very, very quickly, and has stopped producing them. It seems like the first few were really just to help clean up medevacs, because other than that, it has just been straight Ling Bane. And so these tanks, I mean, they're definitely very, very good, and especially on a map like Curious Minds, you can make good use of them with blind spots, things to obscure vision. But against pure Ling Bane, it is not the best. Especially with lurkers. I mean, the lurkers here are going to be aren't going to be super quick. This isn't Dark, preparing to get into, 10, 11-minute lurkers, 12-minute lurkers, off 4 bases. No, he's getting up to 5 bases. He'll add on more Hydras, get the +1 ranged attacks, but the lurker tech isn't going to come for a little while. It's Ling Bling Hydra, which is a very old school term I didn't expect to be saying, but that is what the unit composition is, and you're now having a counterattack here from Dark, which should be able to clean up quite a bit. A lot of Marines go down. CC has to be lifted off, and the 6 workers do go down, but Dark, I mean, look at this army supply. He's sitting at 70 workers only. He hasn't gone up to, the usual 80, 90 that we see Zergs do, and instead he's sitting on this lower worker count, just because the map is smaller, so you don't need that many, and he's sitting at 126 army supply. 2-2, Zerglings, Banelings, 122 army supply of them. Pretty decent, and there's quite a few units that will take advantage of those upgrades. Clem does have 3-3 on the way, of course, but it's going to be a while out until that's done. And his tank's only sitting at +1. As Dark's looking for the surround, and just look how many units there are. Pure Ling Bane strolling on through. Clem's entire army gets cleaned up, and again, the tanks, they're good at defending, but you just cannot push out on the map. GG is called. Dark completely rolls over Clem in 2.